Norbert's is having a sale on vinyl conditioner, 10% off. Did you know you had to condition your vinyl? I did not know this. Now we know. Thank you, Norbert's. And chalk cleaner is 10% off. They're having a sale. So go to norberts.com for 10% off anything with the code GymCastic. Norbert's is also giving away a $50 Norbert's gift card that can be used on anything in their online store. No minimum. Just go to Norbert's Athletic on Instagram and comment and like the giveaway post. Good luck. This show is PG-13, so you will hear a naughty word or two, probably. Today we have all the gymternet news to catch you up on. Plus, we have some mini commissions on. We do a retroactive artistry checklist. Oh, the joy! 2008 Olympic team finals, and we're gonna take a look back at the career of Aly Raisman from 2010 to 2011. It's September 23rd, and welcome to the number one gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation, and we had 2 episodes last week. So we had our regular behind the scenes where we answered all of your questions especially about Jordan's appeal about her bronze medal to the Swiss Supreme Court, which looks like she will win because many due process errors. And then we also had an extra episode on Wednesday all about Jordan's appeal to the Swiss court. So if you missed those, listen to those from last week. Let's get to the gymternet news first. Elite, who's continuing, who's doing what news. So Jade Carey is on the GOAT tour right now. And she says she probably won't compete Elite Gymnastics in 2025. Let her live.
Good for her. Yeah. She's been going how long has she been going nonstop with college and elite? I'm like, yes, correct. Don't compete elite gymnastics in 2025.
Yes, like 7 years or something now. It's been a really, really long time. Carlos Yulo has already said that he expects to defend his Olympic titles. It's the best thing that he has more than one title. Carlos Yulo in LA 2028.
He expressed his desire to defend. Not that he necessarily expects to defend. I feel like that's not really a Carlos Yulo thing to say.
No, he would never say that.
He would never say he expects to defend.
He is expressed his desire. Yes, exactly. I expect him to. Also, I love that he and his girlfriend got like some fancy spa dermatologist endorsement. So it's like he has a commercial where he like goes into a spa and he and his girlfriend are getting like all the like facials and the slime and the whatever that stuff is they put on your face and the lights and I don't know. I just
slime.
The slime. It just looks like slime. I enjoyed watching him do that. Canadian Felix Dolci, one of our favorites, giving the most energy. He also expressed his desire to win a world title ahead of 2020. He is very ambitious. He says it out loud. He is manifesting the way Reese McClanagan did. Like, I am going to win. I dream about winning. I'm going to win. This is the energy that Felix has. Also, we know now definitively, we heard about this during the Olympics, but definitively, FIG president Morinari Watanabe has officially put his candidacy forward for IOC president. Now, do you think that he will be a candidate after the disaster of the floor finals for women?
Well, yeah, he is a candidate.
But you do think he'll be a serious candidate? Do you think his candidacy and poem writing skills will be taken seriously?
I mean, he's good enough at the politics that he became the head of the FIG. And this is all, all the glad handing is how you become president of the IOC. It's not like it's based on merit or anything. So who knows? Sebastian Coe is also up for it. He's kind of a prominent figure, head of
why do I know
athletics.
That name? Who is that guy?
He's head of the track and field athletics federation. Also, Kirsty Coventry is up for it, who I haven't always loved the way she defends the IOC, but she always defends the IOC, and she would be the first female president of the IOC, and we can get behind that as a concept.
Yes, we can definitely get behind that. That needs to happen. Isn't it crazy there hasn't been a female IOC
No, it's
president?
not crazy. It's completely expected. Of course, there's never been a female president of the IOC. Have you met the IOC?
I mean, that's the other thing. Maybe it's a good thing no women have been involved. I'm not involved, but, of course, running things. But, okay, so in the most expected news ever, Of the top, this is according to Axios, of the top 100 female athletes monetizing their name, because that's name, image, likeness, NIL, right, 2/3 play one of two sports, either basketball or gymnastics.
Yeah.
So that's how to make the money, everybody. Now you know. Hezly Rivera has been selected as the 2024 Time Magazine Latino Leaders honoree. Hezly also is doing like weekends on the tour because she's still training and going to school. But Hezly has confirmed on social media that her college choices are between Florida, OU, and LSU.
Yeah, those are, the big ones. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like she's good, and like the top schools are after her. Yeah.
And we finally found out.
What's your pick? What's your pick for Hezly?
Oh God, I just want Hezly to be happy and enjoy her life.
Okay, but yeah, I know, but that's like such a cop out of an answer.
If she wants to make the most money, she should go to LSU. If she wants to win, she should go to OU. And if she wants to enjoy her life and make money and maybe win, she should go to Florida. But I mean, people from like New Jersey and Pennsylvania, being one of those people, basically we're the same. New Jersey just has a beach and we don't. Florida's paradise. Like people love Florida. East Coasters love Florida almost as much as like the British love Spain. Like it's that they're like, bring me the humidity, and they love it. So yeah, I also felt enamored with Florida until I went to a place that without humidity. And then I was like, wait, you can have beach without humidity? So,
it's better.
But I mean, it's not like Florida doesn't have a beach. It's like an hour and a half from the beach or whatever. But, you have water and you're very close to the beach. So, okay. LIU athletics. So we did talk about this, but there were about 8 or 10 gymnasts who had left the LIU program for various reasons. They came out with a joint statement about many problems that they experienced. The LIU gymnasts made allegations against head coach Randy Lane and also assistant coach Olivia Courtney. And now LIU Athletics has announced a new head coach. So the head coach is Taylor Caldwell, former Lindenwood gymnast. Past season was the assistant at Central Michigan. Before that was assistant coach at Southeast Missouri. And at Lindenwood, so wishing her the best of luck. Izzy Stasi and Nicole Desmond have committed to Oklahoma.
Yep.
Now you know where all the elites are going. The most exciting news.
Yeah.
Tanya Paulson, Swedish, amazing, beautiful, wonderful. Her gymnastics is so beautiful. Has committed to Cal. How long have we been like... Sweden and Cal happen. Either Cal or Oklahoma are the perfect like mesh of the Swedish Iceland style of gymnastics and college gymnastics. Those two teams. This is so exciting. We need to make more of this happen. Who next? Who do we need to send from the world?
Thelma Adelstein's daughter, our favorite from Iceland.
Yes. Okay, we need to get on that. Also, Anna Barbosu needs to do college gymnastics, you guys. She taught herself English. She taught herself English from watching She-Ra and other cartoons.
Correct.
This is how awesome she is. Get her out of Romania and to a college in the United States. This is all I want from her. So if you're looking for someone who can do all the college skills easily and is an elite and an Olympic medalist, may I present Anna Barbosu, you guys? Available to recruit. I'm just letting you know. I'm just putting it out there. I'm thinking Maryland maybe for her would be a good match.
Okay.
I mean, I have many ideas, but anyway.
Plansyourlife.com.
Yeah. Many schools. But since LSU has like an unlimited roster, I mean, now they're limiting the roster, but are they?
2026 season. 20 maximum.
Oh, that's next year. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So
we have one more year of COVID years. This is the last year.
No, it's this year again. We still have COVID years.
But this is the last. This is the end of them. 2025 is the end of the COVID years, and then 2026 starts the roster.
So the COVID years make me so mad. They're so unfair. Justice for Maggie Nichols. I will never recover from this. Khalees Wofford switched her commitment from Clemson to Georgia. So
We talked about that a little bit on behind the scenes.
Yeah. This is
The
all the
idea
stuff you
of-
get immediately on behind the scenes that we discuss.
The idea of Cecile as being a location for people who are like, she's coached an elite who was also doing college at the same time and made an Olympic team. Maybe I'll want to go to Georgia.
Glasgow is hosting the 2026 Commonwealth Games.
Excellent.
I think we should take a trip to cover gymnastics.
I think we should cover the gymnastics of the 2026 Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, mostly because Scotland, and we love Scotland, and but also Commonwealth. That's nice, and you can see a preview of all the teams, but also Scotland. So yay. Thank you, Glasgow, for hosting. The GOAT Tour will be on America's Got Talent on Tuesday, I believe, is when that show is on. They're doing one of their whole tumbling routines. And then, of course, Nedarashik has been on the Dancing with the Stars, and he's killing it. And also, we have to make sure that Criminal does not rank higher in the voting than Alona Mar. This is my assignment for everyone. Make sure you're registered to vote, check your voting status, and also make sure Alona Mar ranks higher than the Criminal on the show. This is all I ask. And we get Anna Barbosu and Thor's daughter to... Whose daughter is she at Iceland? Why do I forget her last name? It's someone's daughter.
It's long. It's Adelstein's daughter.
Adelstein's daughter needs to do college gymnastics. Is it too much to ask? I'm just saying. Okay, we have a little dumpster fire news to get to, which we have been waiting for many years. The U.S. Center for SafeSport has reopened an investigation into Arthur Akopian and Galina Marinova of AOGC in Calabasas, California. You will know these coaches because these are the coaches of Michaela Maroney. And in our interview with her, when she announced that she was stepping away from the sport, she talked extensively about their role in her illness and injuries. The Washington Post investigated them. The coaches were, and former gymnasts told them that the coaches were physically and emotionally abusive to them as young girls. Some of their former athletes include, as I said, Michaela Maroney, Maddie Larson. SafeSport shelved its investigation on the coaches in 2022, citing a lack of witnesses. There are so many, but 10 former gymnasts told the Post that Akopian abused them and their teammates when they were girls, including allegations that he threw, dragged, and slapped them. One gymnast said that she was never contacted by SafeSport, even though a fellow athlete gave her name for the investigations. And this is SafeSport has reopened the investigation because of the Washington Post story. And I think this is another important tale of why, as the Washington Post states, when you go to their page, because we are subscribers to the Washington Post, we support their work. This is where Emily Giambalvo works and does all of the sexy data, which we love. But this is democracy dies in darkness. This is the power of journalism. A story like this can then help reopen an investigation, as if Maroney's interview wasn't enough, though there wasn't really a SafeSport then. So Akopian and Marinova did not respond to messages seeking comment on the investigation from the Washington Post, but they have previously denied all the allegations of abuse. They also did that when Maroney gave her interview with us, and there is a page on our website where they state their opinions. So good job to the Washington Post.
I think it's positive to see that SafeSport is also willing to reopen an investigation, because one of the problems with SafeSport is that when a case goes to SafeSport for gymnastics, it's out of USA Gymnastics' hands. They have nothing to do. They can't do anything. They have no recourse. And that rule is in place because of gymnastics, because of USAG specifically, and what the previous leadership of USAG did with reports of abuse and not handling them correctly. That's why it's taken out of the federation's hand, or the, governing body's hands and into SafeSport. But that has become a problem with other organizations, specifically the soccer athletes, saying if it's SafeSport and SafeSport doesn't do anything, we still want to be able to do something as an organization, because we know that something wrong has happened. So at least seeing that SafeSport is willing to reopen an investigation doesn't just mean it's closed and it's out of everyone's hands all the time, which is the frustration with SafeSport. There's just we couldn't find enough evidence, so boop, and nothing happens. It's out of everyone's hands. Nothing's real.
And I hope that now that this is reopened, I mean, the amount of people that will have things to say and adult witnesses to Arthur's, behavior too, there should be legion. So that shouldn't be a problem. I also think, there's so many people are frustrated with SafeSport. The SafeSport investigators are frustrated. The organization itself is frustrated. The federations are frustrated. The coaches are frustrated. The athletes are frustrated. But seeing what goes on still in other countries, there are better systems, there are worse systems, but at least we have a system that can do something. Whereas it is progress, even though it's messy and it's not fast all the time and there are problems with it, at least there is something, because a lot of people have nothing. And it's just a dictatorship of the federation, and they're back in the 2016 days of USAG. So at least it's something. We have Achilles news to get through. It's very upsetting.
Ugh, it's terrible. 2
Achilles injuries.
Get rid of the Achilles.
Oh no, you should just have them like extra. I don't know put all the things in them. What
it's
are they
like
called?
Teeth.
Stem
You should
cells.
have a second Achilles that can regrow as needed.
Immediately. I'm sure
you
someone's
should have a
working
baby
on
Achilles, and then it falls out, and you have your adult
A new
Achilles
one.
that comes in.
Yeah,
It's brand new and hasn't dealt with things before.
You just rub.
But it comes in at like
on
20. Not like with your adult teeth in childhood. Like you lose
Like your
your
wisdom
baby
teeth?
Achilles at like 20, and then your new Achilles grows in, I think.
Your wisdom teeth come out and your new Achilles grows in. That's how it works.
Sure.
Okay, I like
I
that.
don't
idea.
have wisdom teeth, by the way. That's my fun fact.
You don't?
Mm-mm. Or some of my back molars. I have very few teeth.
Gosh, no wonder you have such a perfect voice. It's perfect for podcasting.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. I have a baby tooth. I have nothing under it, so I've had it my whole life. It's my pride and joy. But anyway, back to Achilles news. People that lost an Achilles.
Ugh.
May it rest in peace. Sofus, our beautiful Sofus of Norway, tore his Achilles at Northern Europeans this past weekend. Donnell Whittenburg also tore an Achilles on the GOAT tour. I'm so sad for him.
What is this, a USAG tour around here?
I know, but at least it wasn't like caused by terrible equipment or like someone not having the mats in place. No
mats, yeah.
Right, or, at least it's, thing that happens in regular course of gymnastics. Other investigations happening. Rutgers has ordered an investigation of the gymnastics program following allegations of abuse by their coach. Rutgers has hired a law firm to conduct an investigation of the athlete allegations of bullying, favoritism, and revenge by the coach. We talked about this a little bit before, but I think it is important that it has risen to this level of them hiring an outside firm to look into this. Lastly, not dumpster fire news, but exciting CEO news in the gymternet news. Leanne Wong has launched the Leanne Wong Foundation. The mission of the foundation is to joyfully and gratefully provide resource partnership for those experiences a lack in the necessities of life. I love this for her. So I feel like this is a great sign, because when you need, in the United States, a foundation is a tax shelter. So when you're doing well enough in your business that you need a tax shelter, this is great, because you can do 2 things. You have a tax shelter and also you're providing for people in need. This is great. I love it. I wish that we were making enough money that we needed to have a foundation as a tax shelter. This is truly my goal. What would our foundation be? Growing new Achilles.
Just because some like aimless climate change foundation that doesn't do anything.
No, it would be one of those like suck the carbon out of the air, climate change, and then with the extra carbon, grow new Achilles. An Achilles bunker. Just Achilles growing like a seed vault under the ground in Svalbard. Okay, so in case you don't know, this show right here, GymCastic, is brought to you by Club Gym Nerd. You get, if you're a member of Club Gym Nerd, a whole extra podcast every week. We do it every Friday at noon Pacific, or after a competition like college season. And we do like a live Q&A, or you can send in questions ahead of time. And plus we have exclusive bonus stuff. You get extended interviews. You have your own VIP section in the forum. Right now, some people are organizing, doing like voter registration along with the GOAT tour in our forum if you want to check it out. And you get first dibs on live show tickets. And of course, the best thing is you can create your own mini segments or rage-o-meters or enthusiasm joy-o-meters if you want to. And we have a couple of those mini segments coming up today. So if you want to check it out, all the stuff you get. And of course, you get the emotional satisfaction of filling your emotional chalk bucket, knowing that you're supporting the important work we do here at GymCastic all year long, not just during the Olympics or World Championships, but every single week. So you can
even after the Olympics, when everyone's forgotten about it, we're here. We're doing
people are still doing gymnastics, so we're still covering it. So you can join the club at gymcastic.com. And if you have any questions, needs, service requests, customer service at gymcastic.com, then that will go to Fact Checker. He does everything here. Next up, we have the 2008 Beijing Olympic team finals from world champion level club gym member Irene, who said,
Irene said, I wanted to ask about the 2008 Olympics, then noticed you already did a commission on the 2008 all-around final. How about team finals then? I wasn't following gymnastics very closely back then, but I remember this final seemed very close, and I remember being disappointed that we lost to China. So can you talk about that? Was it really that close? Did we have a chance at winning the gold? Anything we could have done differently? Any big mistakes, downgraded routines, etc.? And of course, the big Chinese gymnast age controversy. What was that all about? Was there any truth to those allegations? Okay. Big idea, big meat. Very dramatic. Olympic team final. First question, was it really that close? Yeah, it was pretty close coming in. Both the US and Chinese teams that were sent to the 2008 Olympics are truly excellent teams, full of all-stars. I think the US narrative, shockingly, was somewhat misleading. I definitely, as a viewer, was like, oh, the US are the favorites. We were told, the US won gold at 2007, won team gold at 2007 Worlds. The US is therefore the favorite for gold in 2008. I think there was some misleading nature to that narrative. I think it was kind of rah-rah USA. Maybe there was a lack of research into what China was bringing to the Olympics in 2008. And kind of understandably, Hakashin and Donglin Lin did not compete internationally until 2008, which is of note. We'll get there. And that made a huge difference in the Chinese team's scoring potential. Really, looking back on what routines both of these teams had, China should have been considered the favorite.
Yeah.
And the US had a shot, but China was the favorite.
And I remember also just not thinking about them as a favorite, even though looking at it objectively, clearly.
When you look at what they're bringing on bars versus what the US was bringing on bars and having to put up Sean Johnson there, that's more than a fall of difference that the US would have had to make up. So, and to the question of did the US have a chance of winning the gold? Yes, a chance. But, China would have had to make more errors than the US. And the US had more falls than China in the team final. So with the advantage they had going in and fewer falls, it's kind of how it happened.
And, you can understand in a way, it's like, China, it's like, Russia goes to beam. It's all fun and games till Russia goes to beam. China has had not great always under pressure. So I can see being like, yeah, well, they're on paper the favorite, but are they going to actually hit in a home Olympics at, in Beijing, all of that stuff. But to her next point.
I know if you just watch the Chinese teams of recent years, you'd be like, remember, what is this 2008 team that only fell once and can hit with beautiful high difficulty routines? Oh.
Her next question, anything we could have done differently? Yep.
I think the question is, would a healthy US team have won? Because I think preparation was a big deal. Why was half of the team unable to compete at their normal level? Why was the team so broken?
And specifically, so this would be Sam Pesek hurt herself in warm-ups right before.
So she was able to do bars in qualification and didn't do anything in the team final.
Chelsea Memel had to compete on a broken foot or ankle.
Yeah. And then we saw, Alicia Sacarmone, which I think is more non-specific, but we saw someone, especially on floor in the team final, that was not her level. I don't think she was competing at 100% at those Olympics. Or, no gymnast is competing at 100% at the
Yeah.
Olympics. But, close enough. I don't think she was close enough.
So who do you think they should have taken Shayla Worley? And would that have made a difference?
Well, yeah, the other thing is the bars selection, which was such a huge focus of trials. It was like, who's the third bars routine? Who's the third bars routine? And then it ended up just being Shawn Johnson, and they didn't take anyone. She was hurt. Shayla was hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe she gives the team a couple tenths. There were some people, if Ashley Priest had stuck around, maybe she gives you a couple tenths on bars. I just don't think there was that person. And that's why Shawn Johnson ended up going on bars. And it wasn't really about, like, are you taking Yana Beeger for bars? Like, I mean, her routine was fine, but it wasn't, like, going to give you this huge advantage.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, at least Shawn Johnson's going to hit. Like, Shawn Johnson's going to hit bars. It might not be great, but she's going to stay on.
It's a good routine. It's just didn't have the difficulty at that time. It wasn't going to get that huge score. And I don't think the US had anyone to do that. There wasn't like someone waiting in the wings. It was like they ignored this huge bars routine that would have changed the game. And
these were the days where Marta and the entire system broke people to the point where they had mostly season-ending injuries pre or during the Olympics and could not come back for at least a year or two after an Olympics. Like, that was just normal then. Now you have everybody on tour doing all the stuff. Not a problem. And that's a big difference from how it was. Any big mistakes, downgraded routines, etc.?
I mean, Alicia had a time in the team final, which was the big issue for the US. Falling on her beam mount, missing floor, whereas China had one fall. Cheng Fei fell on beam in the team final. But so, I mean, that was the big issue. That Alicia got a lot of shit for, and it's not, Yeah,
it wasn't just her. Other people had stuff. But what was the format in Beijing? It wasn't 3 up, 3 count, or 4 up, 3. It was 3 up, 3 count?
We were doing 3 up, 3 count in 2008. Yeah.
I can't remember when it started. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, and then the next thing she has is, and of course, the big Chinese gymnast age controversy. What was that all about? Is there any truth to those allegations?
Is there any truth to those allegations? We don't know, and I don't know if we'll ever know. It's a fraught topic. Basically, it started with Hekimsnes. There were articles in Xinhua, the internet uncovering like those secret meet rosters. Do you remember all of that drama? That was saying she was born in 1994 and was 14 at the time of those Olympics and not 16. So this became enough of a deal that the FIG was compelled to investigate. They didn't find anything that they could do anything about or did anything about or was conclusive. So they basically said, China fulfilled all the document submission rules. Everything's fine. Everyone's eligible to compete. And the Chinese explanation from the program was that there was an administrative error when Hekimsnes was changing gyms, and that the 94 birth date was wrong and the 92 birthday was the correct one, and she's eligible to compete. And Hekimsnes has always maintained that as well, that she was the right age and was eligible to compete. So it's not a situation like Dongfeng Xiao on the 2000 team, who was like, yeah, they gave me a fake birth certificate. It was just like, you have to do this, you have to compete, and admitted it, and China was stripped of a medal. So we don't have anyone who's saying like, yeah, I was the wrong age. I would say the US narrative on the matter did not help, as usual.
The Bella Caroli baby teeth narrative?
Yeah, it was
Bella
not
Caroli just being rolled out to say everyone was
never
cheating.
Made about like, oh, there was a Xinhua article that said she was 14 and maybe there's some evidence. It was about like, look how young they look. Isn't Dong Lin 18 months old? And it became an issue of cultural bias in ages and how people are supposed to look, and white people bias of expecting you to look like white people, because how young someone looks is not evidence of anything at all, ever. So it sort of became this issue of like, do you think the Chinese gymnasts were the right age, or are you racist? Which is like, not helpful, not correct. So ultimately, yeah, there are legitimate questions about whether Hekimsnes was the right age in 2008. I don't think we'll ever know, and I don't think there's anything conclusive enough to know.
Yeah. It is. I think that one of the reasons this became an issue too is because other gymnasts from Western countries came out and said, yeah, I had 2 passports. Many Romanian gymnasts. I had 2 passports. The federation just went to my house and told my dad I was going to compete under this age now because it was my only chance. Like, there's much documentation of this. And then the other problem is that they're only in the known history of the FIG that we have documented, only the non-white teams have been punished for age falsification, even though we know, and
there
there's
are plenty of Romanians.
There's so many Romanians
who've just said it flat out.
Said it flat out and have talked about it openly and all of that stuff. So I think that was another layer of this that is frustrating. And the thing with the FIG is they have like a 10-year statute of limitations. So if, Hekashin or someone was to come out now and be like, yeah, I had 7 passports, and I don't mean to use her an example because I think she's underage, because I don't, but if she does,
she was the one who there were articles. That's why it started
with a different age. So I think that they still wouldn't do anything because the 10 years are up. So, and that's what I think is a little bit disappointing for people and why it becomes such an issue. It's like, how are you going to make this fair? Why, of course, no one's going to come out and talk about it until they're safe and have another country,
but if the statute of limitations is expired and you'd be safe and no one said anything, still, that, would be a check in China's column.
Yeah. So, there you go.
We don't know, is basically. But it's just, at this point, I think everyone's like, it was what it was.
Yeah. And I think if it was something that was going to come out, if we're going to find something out, we would have at this point. But either way, nothing can be done about it unless the IOC did something about it. That's my point about bringing up that that the FIG has a 10-year statute of limitations. So, so final thoughts on 2008, how it was presented.
Yeah, it was presented terribly. China was the best team, deserved to win, and won. That's my now perspective on 2008. My perspective at the time was like, I have to turn this competition off. I think I turned it off. I don't think I watched the end of it at the time because I was like, ugh, you favorite US team, you're not performing up to your potential.
I remember just feeling so bad for Sacarmone. I was like, no, because she had all those years of like being very an inconsistent junior, and then finally was like much more consistent generally as a senior. And then when she fell on beam, and then, seemed to be like a mental mistake on floor too afterwards, because, you're devastated after. I just felt so bad for her. But
she almost, in qualification, she almost made the beam final.
Yeah,
she was so close to knocking out either Sean or Nadia from the beam final, which would have been a huge upset. So she was like on beam and then missed her mount in the team final.
So if you want a mini commission like this, you too can join Club Gym Nerd at the world champion level at gymcastic.com and get one. Let us begin with the Retroactive Artistry Checklist mini commission from world champion level club member Amber. We love this, Amber. Take it away, Spencer.
Amber says, using the artistry checklist for floor, watch and tell what deductions would be taken for the following athletes from across generations. And Amber gave us a list with links specifically, which is very helpful. Okay, so we're starting with Nadia Comaneci, 1976 American Cup. So we watched this routine. We'll link to it. You can watch it yourself or just, search for it on YouTube because it is iconic. As Amber notes, the ending pose in particular is iconic of this routine. Thoughts?
The boop of the wrist. That's the boop
of the wrist. With thoughts? Would you like me to go first? Artistry checklist, Nadia Comaneci, 1976.
I would love it if you let me go first.
With the modern, this is the current artistry checklist. I used the 2025 to 2028 artistry checklist, which is slightly revised, but it's, I'm getting ready for the new season, so gotta get familiar.
I use the current one since her request is now and not for the future.
Sure, fair.
This is one of the best examples of doing everything in the checklist. I think the only thing that she could have added more of is the touching the floor. You have to do some work on the floor. And then she does mostly just work from her footwork is excellent. She's pointing, she's flexing, she's using different steps. All of it's there. She's lifting from releve. But she could use more of the entire body instead of just hips up, I would say. That's my one thing. But it's a great example of you have to involve the music has to go to your finishing pose. You have to, it has to go together. Stop on the beat is my shortcut deduction for that. It's the best example of stopping on the beat. Should we say what's
and I think
in the checklist before we go into it? Okay.
Sure.
Posture.
We have poor body posture, which is in 2024, 1/10. In 2025, 1 or 2/10. So you can take more for poor body posture. You have poor footwork, insufficient amplitude of movements, which means elongation. The arm is going all the way and you're stretching from the hip, you're leaning, all of that. Insufficient involvement of the body parts, which means your spleen and kidneys have to be part of the routine, but actually means it's not just all arms. Basically is what they want. Like you're using your hips, you're dancing, your thighs, your knees. You've got everything going on. Insufficient complexity of movements is a 10th. Poor expressive engagement according to the style of the music is up to 3/10.
So you can't just use the cheer face, like ooh, your face.
You have to be engaged with the routine. Lack of connectivity to the exercise in part or throughout. Is now up to 3/10. This used to be called background music, basically, and now they're saying lack of connectivity to the music, but it's the same thing. Lack of synchronization at the end of the exercise, which Jessica has mentioned. Ending pose, Nadia did that perfectly. Boop. Poor editing of the music.
Oh, so I love this one.
Your college routine too. There might be some poor editing of the music. Poor choreography in the corner or lack of variety is another 10th, and then missing a movement touching the floor.
The thing 10th. About the poor choreography, basically repeating whatever you do in the corner every time or not having something new to do in the corner. Every single routine from before the checklist, all will get that deduction. Every single one, because everybody just went to the corner, took a deep breath, saluted, and went. So they were all. So just assume every single routine recovering gets that deduction. There's one in here that did something different. I think it's Carly Patterson actually that did one thing different, which I was shocked because basically just check everything on the list when we get to Carly Patterson. But anyway, Spencer,
I would add for Nadia, I would take at least a 10th for expressive engagement because she's very expressive in the body parts and there's just nothing in the face. She's giving us nothing the whole time. She's giving us I'm coached by Bella Caroli. Is what I felt about the routine. I think it's blank.
Oh, I think it's not blank. I think it is sometimes blank, but mostly she does have engagement. Considering, there has been a million American elites that have more blank face than her.
Well, that's not the standard.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's not like other people are worse is not the standard for a deduction.
Okay, so let's go
But there are not many. We're saying not many artistry deductions, but some. She's not going to be a 0/10 artistry checklist, I think, but it's a good routine.
Yeah. Boginskaya's guitar routine, the one that's considered avant-garde.
Avant-garde.
Was controversial.
Like, avant-garde. This is 1989.
Best routine.
To me, this routine highlights the deficiencies in the artistry checklist, which I think is overall a good idea. The artistry checklist is overall a good idea, but it does lead to cookie cutter ideas of what artistry is in terms of your elongation. Everyone's going to elongate from the hips, lean that way, and, utilize all the body parts. And for me, this Boginskaya routine, if you wanted to be a jerk, you can take for feet not pointed. You can take for insufficient amplitude of the movements, but that's intentional. That's all intentional. That's part of the routine. That's part of the performance. That's part of the style of the routine. So you shouldn't take for them. But I think the artistry checklist gives you license to take for them.
I think actually that going through, I think if you just read the checklist and you didn't do all the trainings, that might be that. But in the trainings, they're clearly accounting for different styles of movement. So as long as when you're supposed to point your feet, as in you travel through releve and back down through releve on your leaps and things that are supposed to have that in is supposed to be pointed. If you use flex feet as part of your dance and the way that you are moving with the routine and the choreography, that's not a deduction. So
well, it certainly shouldn't be. I'm saying it leaves the artistry checklist leaves it open for people to be at least afraid of a routine that has these kinds of elements in it, because how is it going to be received?
Anyone who's isn't Boginskaya should be afraid that they're not.
I mean, yeah, no one except Boginskaya should ever try this routine. So basically, I think we agree that this should receive no artistry deductions, but also probably would get the corners deduction if applied now, because she's like, I'm in the corner.
Because it's 1989. Yeah. Podkopayeva, 96 Olympics, the ballet floor routine.
Lovely.
Lovely
routine.
Just so beautiful.
I do think it's all arms.
It is all arms.
It's all arms. It's a lovely routine. But I was like, oh, if you were artistry checklisting this now, it's insufficient involvement of the body parts.
Yeah. Which honestly don't come from me ballet people. But I mean, she does have her turns and she has her little squat in plie and that's in there, but that's like once in the whole routine. So she's not really involving her whole body. And I think that is a lot of ballet is like, it's up top. I mean, there's many different varieties of ballet.
Ballet people are just
they're writing their emails already. Yeah. They're like all the examples. I mean, like a classical nutcracker, there's not a lot of getting low to the ground, rolling around. I'm not gonna get letters about that. Now I'm like, what about
rolling around in ballet?
Yes. I mean,
can there be more log rolls in ballet?
Like there should be on
what
beam.
What if I just did a log roll?
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing, but it's so well done.
But it's so pretty that you don't want to take anything.
So excellent. And it's the best examples of like things going with the musicality and stopping on the beat and like, so, and the corner boredom wasn't even that bad in her. She's going to get that deduction, but yeah, I feel like.
I mean, also like 1/10 of artistry deductions is really good for now.
Right.
Like if you only got 1/10, you're beating everybody else who's getting like 5.
So let's talk about Carly Patterson 2004 Olympics, the first American all-around Olympic champion. Second,
Mary Lou.
In a non-boycotted Olympics, in a fully attended Olympics, basically it's Carly. Woo! Where do we start?
She gets most of them. She's going to get most of the deductions.
Every single one. Routine. The interesting thing is like the musicality, there are 2 or 3 seconds, 2 or 3 counts of 4, I will say. 1, 2, 3, 4, where she actually is with the music and it's not just background music and it is interesting and different choreography. But that happens 2 or 3 times in the entire routine. Otherwise, you could put anything on. And it's good music. I mean, they were trying to give her something that's,
And I would say even in those moments, she's not connected to the choreography.
No,
like you're still losing like facial connection to the choreography. She's like, I am doing tumbling and I will just do the movements that I've been told to do and whatever.
Yeah.
Just deal with that. So I think, multiple tenths for engagement with the choreography facially, because she's just like, she's going through the motions in this routine.
Yeah.
And so multiple tenths for connectivity to the music. And
yeah, I would give her the full 3/10 off for engagement with the music and the full 3/10 off for background music. I mean, all of it. I don't think there's anything she would get all. God, is it 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tenths? Is it a 1.5 point? 1.2? off.
I don't know if she'd get everything. I don't think she'd lose. She wouldn't get editing of the music.
1.6.
She wouldn't get stopping on the beat, I think was fine.
Okay, editing, that's true.
But so there are a couple that she would not get. But yeah, I mean, like, it's not like involvement of the body parts, it's all arms.
Yeah.
She's not engaged, footwork. Probably gonna lose. Body posture might.
Oh, body posture. But yeah, that is the thing, is this, you can tell she is just thinking about the next tumbling pass.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Which is very classic for American routines, especially of that era.
Right. Because I
Like,
used to,
almost everybody, because you didn't have to.
yeah, and you had to do so much tumbling. Like this, wait until we get further on in the quad. We're going to talk about Aly Raisman later, and I'm just like, oh my God. So yeah, she was doing exactly what she needed.
How much tumbling are you doing?
Yeah, I was like, oh, don't worry about any dance. There's no time for it. But yeah, I mean, she was very smart because she could win basically paying no attention to the music or the dance.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And then Jorkina's going to look at the shot of Jorkina after her routine, looking like she just,
in the
smelled
background.
butts.
Jorkina is doing her bar routine and falls off, and that's when you see, oh, it's over. Yeah. Okay. Simone Biles, 2016 Rio Olympic floor. This is the one that has Yoruba in it, but Yoruba doesn't count. Mm-hmm. So they were like, yeah, have full lyrics. It's fine. Amy was not happy when we brought that up on the show, and she was like, now I have to ask the FIG about it. And the FIG was like, oh, it's fine.
Have to ask the FIG about it. That was correct. Okay, so first of all, going back and watching this routine, I like it more than I did at the time. I'm more entertained by it, just generally, than I was at the time. But there are, the checklist is going to have a field day with this routine. Expressive engagement, because it's just smiling, which Donatella famously in her statement about it, or smiling all the time, which is nothing. So yeah, that's going to get hit for smiling, because it is smiling all the time. My engagement with this routine is I'm going to keep smiling the whole time and do insane tumbling, and you're all going to like it. Where's my gold medal? On the topic of Simone's floor, what are you taking?
Okay.
From the artistry checklist. This is the 2016 floor before the artistry checklist existed.
Yes, this is Rio. So I am taking the lack of fluency. I think there is a lack of fluency in her floor, and engagement with the music, because again, the smiling. Mm-hmm. The corner choreo. I mean, this is you have to take it because this was the flamingo era of standing on one foot.
You have to stand on one foot.
Trying to make people dance, but instead everyone just stood on one foot in the corner. So we called it the flamingo era. I do like her creativity with touching the floor, because she does that little handspring turn, mm-hmm. butt bounce that she's done since she was a little kid, and it's great. Everyone loves it. So, and the stopping on the beat, she does that. It's not. I might take a 10th for background music, but I'm not going to take the whole 0.3. But otherwise, yeah. So I think
I think she's losing some things like footwork. The judging educational system right now is so Simone's footwork is terrible.
Yeah.
You have to take 1 million deductions for her footwork. So I think she's probably losing things like that.
There's not a lot of releve in there.
Amplitude of the movements, complexity, involvement of the body parts. Those weren't things yet, and I think you can take for all of them in this routine.
And I think that this is also one of the things that's really interesting. And what's so great about having gymnasts who have stuck around for so long is that we get to see the evolution of their floor routines. And some might because they need to evolve their floor routine. They can't afford to have over a point taken off on the artistry checklist, like Simone. Even though she has so much difficulty in her floor, she can't afford these tenths anymore when you have Andrade right behind her.
She couldn't afford 6 tenths out of bounds.
Right, or that. But yeah, you have to evolve, and she really chose a different choreographer, and really tried. I mean, she's fulfilling everything.
Yeah, she should be getting fewer artistry deductions now when you apply the checklist to 2016, in terms of the amplitude of the movements and the involvement of the body parts and things that people are really being more attentive to these last couple of years. that I have to bend at the hips and to show a flat back or do an extended arm and more of that. And I think that's true for really all of the WCC gymnasts. I think we've seen an evolution in the last couple of years.
Yeah. The interesting thing with Simone too is like, she's done Dancing with the Stars. This is her third tour, second, or it's her tour without USA Gymnastics. She is the only tour, but she did one with USA Gymnastics. But she's always been able to dance. It just has never been applied in her floor routines. I think she never needed to. Right. Like,
I'm doing a lot of tumbling. I got to focus on that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's doing all the tumbling and it's nuts. What did they change for 2015?
For 2025?
2015. Oh my God.
Yeah. So we've got an extra 10th for body posture. You can take 2 tenths now. And you can take 1, 2, or 3 tenths for expressive engagement and connectivity to the music. So it's not a 1 tenth or a 3 tenth. I like that. The 1, 2, or 3.
I mean, I don't love range. You know how I feel about this in college gymnastics. Stop it with the range.
But it's not, at least it's not up to, actually.
But how is it not up to if it's 1, 2, or 3?
Well, I guess. Hopefully it's defined. Hopefully there's an education material. And it's
like
defined.
there was and the education material was excellent for this code. Like, I feel like it was so incredibly clear about the artistry. Like, yeah. If you want to commission your own mini segment like this, then you can do so at by joining Club Gym Nerd at the world champion level at gymcastic.com. And then you get the satisfaction of knowing you're supporting us all year round. So thank you, Amber. Our next one is about Aly. So this is from World Champion Level Club Gym Nerd member Jessica, not me. I did not order this myself.
I would love to do something Aly Raisman related. I've always admired her tenacity and determination. I'd love for you to focus on Aly's early career in 2010 and 2011 when she broke out on the senior scene. Her performance in the 2010 American Cup is a highlight for me. Oh, yeah, that was a big deal. Her 2010 American Cup, that when they had Marta on the floor. I remember that very vividly.
We do have a whole Aly Raisman episode as well, if you want to listen to that. But, okay, so what's so interesting, I don't know what this says about gymnastics as a whole, but I remember when Aly, I was like, oh God, her form is so bad that I just didn't pay much attention to her. And now watching it, I'm like, wow, her form wasn't that bad. And I'm like, God, has gymnastics devolved so badly over the years that I'm like, oh yeah, like bent knees all the time? Yeah, that's just standard now. And it kind of is. But I remember the first time I saw Aly really competing as a senior at 2010 Classic, I was like, oh my God, did they clone Sacarmone's body? Like, is this like at Brescian when you walk in and you're like, oh yes, same body type as Sacarmone, you straight to the pre-elites.
Straight to the vault. Here's your Yuchenko double fall. Back when she was Alexandra Reisman, which was what we like. That didn't last very long. It wasn't like a Kara Eager situation, but it was. She was for a second. She was Alexandra Reisman. What I remember about her, the first time I saw her compete would have been 2009 Junior Nationals, and like Simone, she was never the top junior. We saw someone who could tumble. We saw someone who could vault. She was an elite junior for like 1 year. It was not the path of the very top juniors. Like Kyla Ross was dominating juniors at that point, and we were all like, yes, Kyla Ross, she's perfect. Everything she does is perfect. It's beautiful. But it was like Sabrina Vega and Bridget Kakwado were ahead of Aly Raisman at that point in terms of your expected potential. And I think it's a good, along with Simone, a good lesson. And winning everything as a junior is not the path necessarily to elite success, which I think everyone has learned by this point. But showing all your difficulty at 10 and winning junior nationals is not how you have a successful long career. But talking about American Cup 2010, that was when
the Patterson dismount. I was like, oh my God, there's two of them, because it was like it was Aly and Yes, Bross, who were both doing that dismount. And I was like, the US is unbeatable. This is insane. This is crazy.
Yeah. That was a super solid beam routine. So she was not like expected to go to American Cup that year. They had an open spot, I think, because Bridget Sloan was so injured that at that point after winning in 2009. And Aly earned the spot, and it was a big deal because that was the one that was in Massachusetts, right?
Yep.
And it was like home state. Here we go. That was also when Marta was mic'd on the floor, and then Aly hit that beam routine, and she was like, "Here's my beamer!" Slap, neck pinch, good job, next beamer. And you were like, okay, so Aly's on the world's team.
Yeah,
because that was how decisions were made at that point. We were like,
and
okay.
she kept being chosen for Yeselo, and I was like, oh, if you're getting chosen for Yeselo, like you're on the short list.
She became a Marta favorite in that moment. It was like, oh, you're on the team.
Yeah, you hit beam. Oh, yeah, you're in. But it was classic, I think. Like, I know she did the same skills at American Cup, but it was classic where I really remember her performance, maybe because I was there in person watching it. And it's different when you see this level of tumbling expertise, mastery in person, which is why I always tell people, if you have not seen Simone Biles in person, go see her in person. Go see the tour and see it. I was sitting next to a guy who was some entertainment person on the tour, and I was asking him about it, and I was just like, what do you think? And he was like, yeah, I've never seen gymnastics in person. Like, it's totally different seeing in person. I just didn't realize they go so high. And I was like, I feel so vindicated. What I always tell people. But at that classic, I was just like, holy shit, she's doing a Dos Santos. She's doing a Dos Santos, and it's so good. And at that classic, she sort of like had to tuck on the way out of it. But it was so, I think.
She's still brand new.
She's brand new, and it was so high that I was like, there was no reason to do that. Like, she could do that perfectly. And she was doing that back 1.5 step out into an Arabian. And I was like, blah! Like, I feel like at this
really, stage, you could never connect something else out of this.
No,
tumbling pass.
Never. You can't have 3 skills in there. And also, it's just like connecting anything into a double Arabian was just still so unusual then. Like, it happened, but it just was not the standard. It was just so hard. I mean, a double Arabian was just considered so difficult then. But that was also the classic where she tried an Almanar and literally landed sideways. Like, both feet hit the ground sideways. Her hips are they're not even facing totally sideways. They're still facing slightly towards the vault. And I was like, oh, well, that's it. Like, she folded in half and stood right back up, but I was like, oh, no. Like, she'll never make it to 2012. Her knees. Little did I know about her indestructible ligaments
indestructible,
and how she had muscles for muscles. Yeah. So proven wrong about that. And then she goes to Worlds.
Yes. She went to Worlds, got it together, nailed it. Made the all-around final, which was expected to be Maddie Larson to go to the all-around final, but Maddie was having 2010 Worlds, and there were things. And it was Aly who I think at that point established her reputation as the one who steps up at Worlds. And it was like, oh, she's going to go and hit, and except for bars, because bars was always an issue, but in 2010 and 2011, it was more of a consistency issue.
Yeah.
I think 2012 plus, she figured out how to hit it every time, even though knowing, like, it's not going to be the biggest score, fine, whatever. But she got it together after that and finished 4th on floor.
Yeah, which is huge. And oh my God, that tumbling. I remember I just couldn't get over her because she had cleaned up so much by that Worlds. Like, she had something, classic is your beginning meet. You're just warming up for the season, but everything was so tight by the time she got to Worlds. Her landings were good. That triple full at the end was solid. Because a lot of times I was like, oh, she's going to over rotate that and like Maroney off the floor. And then
Maroney always pulled it back.
She did, except that one time where she did totally over rotate a full and landed, like, hit her head off the mat. She was so mad. Remember that when they were taking her into the ambulance with her arms folded? Like, this is stupid. I'm fine. I remember that. 2011, she wins Classic. Yeah.
Aly's win.
And I was like,
she's always finishing second, always finishing third.
And that's when I was like, oh, yeah, she's going to the Olympics. Like, she's a lock now. That's it. Like
I felt
Aly,
like that after 2010 Worlds. I think it was a completely different start to 2011 than it was to 2010, where 2010 you were like, she's kind of a junior who can tumble. She's in the mix. In 2011, you're like, she is one of the leaders of the team suddenly after 1 year.
I was always still worried about her vaults. Her vaults always made me feel like, yeah, she is a mini Sacarmone, but she won't be able to stay healthy through this.
I mean, I think her double full was always
Yeah, her double full
it was
was fine.
when she tried to do the Aminar.
The Aminar, and I was always like,
she is special to be able to. Yeah.
And she totally was special. Like, that's the thing. I underestimated her ligaments. But yeah, going into that, she just, for me, she was a total lock. Went to the American Cup again, third behind Jordan Weber and Mustafina when there was the whole Weber Mustafina
that whole deal
drama.
She was like, "Thank God I'm only in third. Don't have to deal with that."
And also when Mustafina was like, the American Cup treated me like crap. The food is crap. The hotel's crap. Like, she just went off about how bad the meet was. And I was like, good for you. You're saying all the things the American gymnasts aren't allowed to say because they're afraid of retaliation. You tell everybody, Mustafina. Oh, Mustafina. And then she was third behind Weber and Maroney at Nationals.
Which was the typical position for Aly. Third at Nationals. Behind the star and the other person we think maybe may make the all-around final at Worlds, but actually it's going to be Aly. Which is what ended up happening again on at 2011 Worlds.
Really... Oh, wait, hold on. Before we go to 2011 Worlds, we have to talk about the Weber Mustafina drama in American Cup for people that don't know. The quick.
Okay. I mean, I think you feel like you summed it up. Weber won by like the smallest margin, and it was very controversial. And there were accusations that it was America's scam American Cup.
Yeah, which is what we call it.
Head again.
Yeah. Scam Cup is literally what American Cup was called for 20 years. Yeah. That is what the fans called it. So, yes.
And then it died as a meet and was replaced by Winter Cup, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's what we do now.
It became an official FIG World Cup.
Yeah.
And then I think USAG was like, oh.
For Mustafina to be like, let's talk about the scoring.
Yep. So then it was axed, which is unfortunate. But it was too early in the season for anybody to be ready.
They were like, do you know USA Gymnastics has no sponsorships at this point? We have no money. We can't host American Cup anymore.
I would love them to bring something back, but make it later in the season when people are actually ready to compete. Because there was always someone who would show up and be so not prepared and have a horrible injury. There were so many horrible injuries from foreign athletes at American Cup, and it was always like terrifying. But anywho, 2011
April in an international showcase. Is that what we're calling for here?
Yeah, April would be good. Like right after NCAAs, we could just go straight to that.
Like late April, early May, everyone comes to the US and does crazy skills.
Early May, that would be better because then we can have our 2 weeks off and then go. We need our vacation after NCAA season because.
Yeah. But do you want it to be an all-around competition or individual events?
Obviously, events.
Yeah, I know.
Event specialist Olympics. That's the most important thing to have. But also add tumbling and trampoline with it. That's the trick to make it super exciting. Or just tumbling. Forget trampoline. Just TNT. The TNT part of what is it? Mini tramp. The M&T. Mini. What is it called?
Double mini trampoline.
Double mini.
DMT?
Thank you. Yeah, not mini tramp. Just people run on the mini tramp. Yeah, double mini where you bounce, flip, bounce again, flip off. It's so terrifying. So I want pools around it with the dehumidifier so no one can get hurt. And then, pools under the apparatus is really the goal. Anyway, you guys, back to Aly Raisman.
Yeah. Goes to Worlds.
Goes to Worlds. Japan.
Yes.
That was after Fukushima. We were guaranteed everything was fine.
Outscoring Gabby Douglas for the second spot in the all-around final with Weber. It really could have, that was a situation where it really could have been any of the healthy members of that team who made the all-around final because everyone was doing the all-around. But at this point, I think you expected Aly to make it, where you didn't expect that in 2010. But it was like, she's the one who's going to go up and hit. And you didn't, at that point at 2011 Worlds, you didn't really expect Gabby Douglas to make it because the last time we had seen her compete was that Nationals with the Bakathon on beam where it took her like 4 tries to do a beam dismount, and we were like, she's not mentally ready to go to Worlds, but she was, and she performed well and was the 3rd US gymnast in the all-around. And then, 2012 happened, and she grew from there and excelled. But we were at that point, I think the change was you expect Aly to make it, and she ended up finishing 4th all around, again with a bars issue, where she missed her hop grip change before her dismount and then did 100 extra swings and still got a 12.9, and I'm not over that score, and I think it doesn't make any sense. But she finished 4th, and that was kind of her trajectory in 2010 and 2011. But I think one of the most significant things about Aly's career is that she finished top 2 at nationals only once in her career, and that was 2016, and when she beat Lori, but then Lori beat her at trials. But then she also made 4 international all-around finals twice at the Olympics, which is top 2 in the US, even though she was doing that very rarely domestically. And I think that's one of the defining characteristics that we saw emerge in 2010 and 2011, that she's going to go to Worlds and she's going to be the one who hits in qualification and is super solid and makes the all-around final, which she did consistently.
And this is the thing that I think stuck out to me about Aly, is I was like, she is one of those gymnasts that like can show up at classic and do all around, but these are like her baby routines. Like by the time you give her 2 more months or give her 3 more months at Worlds, they're going to be so much better, so much more refined. Her conditioning was always so superior and so excellent that she could do those routines when they weren't quite ready yet and remain uninjured, and where other people could not make it through that season. And I remember hearing about because her coach is Romanian, and hearing the gymnasts from the era of that Mihai is from, and just being like, we were so in such good shape, like we just did not get damaged. Like we withstand so much because our conditioning was so excellent. We were so strong. And I think about that whenever I see Aly looking back at these routines. And also in her book, she talks about how many routines they did, and the fact that she would be like, I cannot tumble again. I can't do it. I cannot make this last pass. And then Mihai would just be like, go, I will catch you. And she trusted him to catch her if she just ran out of steam, which we saw happen. I was thinking about this a lot because this is what we saw happen at the Olympics with Jade in Paris. Like she ran out of steam last tumbling pass mid-air because she was sick and could not, she couldn't even warm up, we found out afterwards. But it's one of those things that she was just, her conditioning was so superior that she could hone her skills and could hit exactly at the right time and peak exactly at the right time. And so that is one of the things that she did very well with her and her coach.
And I think it also reminds me of 2015 Worlds, where she kind of wasn't quite on in the way that we expect of Aly at a major competition. And she was like, what is this? Like, what is happening? This is not how it's supposed to go.
But yeah.
Because it's the comeback year.
Comeback year.
Oh, I haven't had the full... I had 2013, 2014, and all of that, and I haven't had the full regimen.
Thank you guys so much for your mini commissions. If you guys want a mini commission too, as long as it's tangentially gymnastics related, like these are very gymnastics related.
Very. But
it could even be like, gymnastics scenes in TV shows or movies, or we do have
that has been done though.
We did, what was it? Quincy Jones medical examiner.
It wasn't Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones is not a medical examiner.
Okay,
but that would be great.
It was
that should be a show. It was just Quincy.
Oh, it was just Quincy.
That's a great one. That's a classic beam routine.
That's one of my favorite mini commissions we've ever done. Was
when
that
you're on non-specific pills and you do a beam routine,
and the orange juice is poisoned with Quaaludes or something, or uppers, or I don't know.
Just pills. They're just pills.
Just pills.
We don't define what the pills are. They're just evil.
They're just pills, and they make you do basically crazy ants in your pants gymnastics all over the place.
No one notices. 89 floor routine, but on the beam, and then you pass out in the middle of it.
So good. Oh, you guys. So thank you so much for these. I really enjoy these. These are really fun. We have more of these coming up. We will see you guys on Friday at noon Pacific for behind the scenes. And of course, you can always send us emails, gymcastic@gmail.com. You put behind the scenes in the subject line if you have questions for us, or you can join us live. Instructions are always in the forum or in the show notes for those. And thank you guys so much for joining us. Remember to take off on gay, split on rights, and we'll see you on Friday at noon Pacific for behind the scenes. Thanks for listening.